Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me check my mic, make sure my mic is up. Guys, coming up this evening, the indomitable H.A. Goodman is going to come on to the show for a debate. It's going to be a good-hearted, good-humored debate on whether or not Donald Trump is going to get elected in 2020. I add one caveat: if he keeps going the way that he's going. So H.A. said yes. H.A. took me up on this. And so at 6 p.m. tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern, we should have a great conversation on that. I have a host of guests coming up next week that I think you guys are going to love. And so I'm going to do a show based on that by itself to get across those guests, because I want those guests to have their own spotlight. But part of it is going to be about the Armenian genocide. Other parts is going to be about, you could say, American history. But it's just especially, my words, with regards to African Americans, slaves, this pursuit of citizenship, etc. It should be a fascinating week. What I want to talk about today, however, is slightly different and slightly more absurd, unfortunately. And before I even talk about it, I read this as it came in my little Twitter feed, and Gail sent me the article, but I had already seen the article, so thank you, Gail. Gail says you may have already seen this, and yes, Gail, I already seen it, but thank you nonetheless for sending me the article. I was apoplectic. I don't use that word often. I save that word. I keep that word in the woodshed places, because I only like to pull that out when the word is necessary. It's like calling somebody a racist. I only like to really call that word out. I need that word to have the meaning that it deserves, or the meaning that I give it, the gravity that I give it. Now, I'm at a loss to get across my thinking on this, because words often fail to get across their meaning. What do I mean by apoplectic? What does anybody mean by anything that they say? If I had the capacity to meld minds, meaning if I could put my mind to yours, my consciousness to your consciousness, I can invade your space. I can see, for the most part, what you're trying to get across to me, what you're trying to get across with the words, the stale, ossified words and the language that we use. What are you trying to get across? I can feel it. I can get it on a flesh-to-bone level. I don't have to need the words at that point. I don't need it. I already have it. I get it. I understand what you're saying. But I fail at that. I don't have that capacity, so I'm still stuck with these words. And so there's some words that I keep in the woodshed until dates like this. I don't want to be apoplectic on camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is going to be a blaze one if you got one. So I'm going to let you, for the moment, blaze one if you got one. And I'm going to chill for the moment. I am going to open this one up to phone calls. I'm going to open this one up to phone calls rather early, before getting full well into the story itself. But, yeah. Take a few moments to blaze one if you got one before going full well into the story. Because I don't want you to be pissed off. I don't want my audience to be pissed off. It's 1:47 on a Friday. I want you to be chilled out to some degree. For those who are at work, I understand. I'm sorry. Blaze one if you got one. Now, let's get to the story. Now that you've loosened up, right here. Democratic Party files lawsuit alleging Russia, the Trump campaign, and Wikileaks conspired to disrupt the 2016 campaign. Think about that shit. That is Orwellian at a level that I don't think Orwell himself could have imagined. That is amazing. That is fucking breathtaking. The Democratic Party files lawsuit alleging Russia, the Trump campaign, and Wikileaks conspired to disrupt the 2016 campaign. Yeah, take a look at it. Take a look at it. The Democratic National Committee filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit Friday against the Russian government, the Trump campaign, and the Wikileaks organization, alleging a far-reaching conspiracy to disrupt the 2016 campaign and tilt the election to Donald Trump. You all lost. You all lost. You failed. You put up a candidate who you had to literally pay $1 million or $6 million, how much ever you spent, how many ever $1 million you wasted, in order to get trolls on Twitter to say bad things about Bernie Sanders and Trump supporters. That's where you were at. The fact that you had to pay for that particular capacity should have got across that you didn't have the groundswell of support that would have been required to win an election. You did not go to Wisconsin and many of the other states. Your husband was instrumental in destroying and de-laborizing this nation with the policies that he was passing, such as NAFTA and the trade deals. She failed on all merits. You couldn't beat a reality show host. You had all of the media establishments backing you. You spent $1.2 billion. That money you could have burned on the White House lawn. That money could have went to all of these groups dealing with poverty and homelessness and everything else. But no, your narcissistic ass wanted to run for office. And you failed. $1.2 billion. All of the media establishments behind you. All of these newspapers behind you. All of these political leaders behind you. You had the weight of the entire establishment backing you. And you failed to reality shows. He didn't even know that he was supposed to have a ground game when he was running this election during the primaries. Hillary Clinton should be in jail by now. Let's be honest. Let's say it. Let's call it what it is. They were able to get that woman off because you had Obama in office and you had a Justice Department and everything else that was kowtowing and speaking about the case. And I would argue that if you're speaking about it that way, you may be doing things behind the scenes to kind of push the wheels in a particular direction that allowed that woman to get off. Meaning she shouldn't have even been running in the election in the first place. Imagine the indignity of a candidate running with an FBI criminal investigation on top of their heads. If that was anybody else, hell would have, people would have flipped out. But no, it's Hillary Clinton. And she failed to reality shows. In order for Hillary Clinton to exceed the primaries, let's talk about the cheating that took place during the primaries. The thing that you're complaining about, this conspiracy to disrupt the election, what about the primaries? Hundreds of thousands of people were thrown off the rolls in Brooklyn. I bet that was just a happenstance. What about Arizona? Calling the elections while people were still in the lines. They had these magnificent lines, and they act like these lines were somehow acts of God. They weren't acts of God, they were acts of policies. People full well understood that the Hillary Clinton voters, being older, would have most likely have already gotten their votes in, meaning you would have disproportionately affected Sanders voters by keeping lines longer at the polling locations. This happened all across the United States, in one state after the next. They were shutting down polling locations. Golly gee, we're shutting down polling locations. Why are you shutting down polling locations? Well, I mean, surely we're not going to have a groundswell of people come to the polls. Why would we? We're not feeling the burn, right? I'm making the point, and don't even get to the elections themselves. I mean, by the time you got to California, they stopped having exit polling. Because in one state, after the next, the exit polling was so skewed in favor of Hillary Clinton against the actual result. Meaning, Sanders, somebody goes, makes their vote. They come out and tell the person what they want. Now, for whatever reason, you get the exit polling that's much closer in line with Sanders, or Sanders even winning, but Hillary Clinton winning the actual results. These were off by magnificent percentage points. By the time you get to California, they stopped having the exit polling because the exit polling was so not matching what was taking place in the actual result. The actual result being magnificently inflated for Hillary Clinton. And you filed an investigation indignant that Donald Trump, the Russian government, and Wikileaks cheated you. What did Wikileaks show by chance? Explain to me. Talk to me. Do tell DNC. Do tell Democrats who think this is fucking awesome. What did Wikileaks explain to the American public? WikiLeaks explained to the American public that the Clinton Foundation was a slush fund, A, and that the Democratic Party was cheating Bernie Sanders. That's what it explained. Now, like this is Orwellian. I guess that's where I'm getting at. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Part of the reason that people were pissed off by this, part of the reason that all these Sanders supporters were pissed off, is because the WikiLeaks got across what they were seeing with their own eyes. I myself, in real time, believe that these guys are cheating me. Now, WikiLeaks comes out and says, you're right. They were cheating you. And Hillary Clinton was lying to the American public in the things that she was saying. the indignity of the Clinton Foundation saying, or Hillary Clinton herself saying, Donald Trump doesn't release his taxes when she doesn't want to release the Wall Street speeches. And you see why she doesn't want to release the Wall Street speeches, because you see who she's in the bag for. This is a farce. This is utterly absurd. Donna Brazile comes out, says, yes, they rigged it, and then explains in detail how Hillary Clinton was skating campaign finance laws. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you filing a lawsuit against Trump? It's not that I care about the lawsuit per se. It's that I care about the Orwellian way in which they completely skate over the fact that they cheated Bernie Sanders. It's fucking amazing. I'm not going to rant on this because I want to rant on this, and I'm trying to stop that urge to rant on this. And I'm just going to allow the audience to call in and get across what they feel about this themselves. But by the way, let me read the article first so you can get some semblance of it. This is why I said, smoke one if you got one, blaze one if you got one. Do your vape, do your bong, do your whatever. Chill the fuck out for a moment. And accept the Orwellian nature of this. Let it soak in you. Let it burn to a little bit. It's like taking a shot of alcohol and it burns the back of your throat. Let it burn a little bit. By the same token, admire the beauty of the Orwellianness of it. At the same token, you can hate it, while at the same token admiring the thing that you hate, saying that's pretty fucking awesome in the way that you were able to pull that off. But Orwellian nonetheless, and batshit crazy nonetheless. There is a positive of this, by the way. If this is going to court, and they are going to have to... Does the DNC need to give their servers at this point to something that's not, let's say, in the bag for the DNC? Like, is it possible that this reveals certain information that we didn't necessarily have? Possibly. It's possible they may even drop the suit before it gets anywhere, just using it for a political stunt. I don't know. Either way, they looked at the Becks when the Becks were filing their suit against the DNC is crazy. And they turn around and do something similar. It's amazing. Let's look at it. Let's finish the article. The complaint filed in federal district court in Manhattan alleges the top Trump campaign officials conspired with the Russian government and its military spy agency to hurt Democratic Party presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and help Trump by hacking the computer networks of the Democratic Party and disseminating stolen information found there. Here's the thing. Why didn't you let the FBI look at your servers, the DNC? Like, explain that to me. The Federal Bureau of Investigations, investigation is in their name. Why didn't you give them your servers if you believe that you were hacked or attacked by a foreign actor? That seems mightily peculiar, that you'll turn around and just give your servers over to somebody who you're paying as opposed to giving it to somebody who you don't have to pay, who's actually paid for by the federal government to do those investigations. It just seems bizarre to me. It just seems strange. It seems peculiar. Let's keep going. During the 2016 presidential campaign, Russia launched an all-out assault on our democracy, and it found a willing and active partner in Donald Trump's campaign, the DNC Tom Perez said in a statement. This constituted an act of unprecedented treachery. The campaign of a nominee for president of the United States in league with the hostile foreign powers to bolster its own chances to win the presidential nomination, he said. The case asserts that the Russian hacking campaign, combined with Trump's... You know what? I'm not even going to read this. This is too stupid. We've had 2.5 years of this Trump and Russia nonsense. They've shown squat. They've shown squat. You had the media looking for this. You had the media coming out with false stories that they had to retract. Shitty CNN that they had to retract over and over and over again. Each story always hitting at Donald Trump and always having to retract saying, sorry, we're fake news. We're sorry we put out fake, horrible news. That's how bad we're CNN. You haven't found squat. You've asserted this. You found squat. even with this ridiculous case that Mueller is filing right now, going after Donald Trump, the hatchet man that sold the Iraq war, that's supposed to be apolitical, that sold the Iraq war for the Bush administration. That guy got pulled out of the woodwork in order to pull this case on Trump. Fine. He found a bunch of Facebook and Twitter trolls, half of which took place after the election. And they're using that as some kind of justification of Russian involvement trying to attack democracy. This is a farce. This is a goddamn canard. Like, it amazes me that this is taking with a certain amount of credibility. Come on. It was out there that they hacked Sanders or they had cheated Sanders. No one said squat about it. But all of a sudden, the Democratic Party, oh, we're hurt. We're hurt. Russia attacked us by releasing information of factual, true information, or that Wikileaks released factually true information on a candidate who was lying to the audience and to the American public. Not to mention, release information saying that they cheated Bernie Sanders. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm going to let you guys call in and have your own conversation about how you feel about this. The Democratic National Committee is now suing the Russian government, Donald Trump, who else? And WikiLeaks, saying that they were together in a conspiracy to go after Hillary Clinton. Forget the fact that they were cheating other people. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, guys, feel free to call in. I'm going to read this while I wait for a phone call, just so you can hear it for yourself. The complaint filed, read that part. The case asserts that the Russian hacking campaign, combined with Trump associates' contacts with Russia and the campaign's public cheerleading of the hacks, amounted to an illegal conspiracy to interfere with the election that caused serious damage to the Democratic Party. Reading stuff back that we said caused us serious damage. Do you imagine how sad and weak and pathetic you are when you say the information that we said that was factually true being read back to us absolutely hurt our campaigns? Absolutely hurt our campaigns. Us not revealing that Hillary Clinton was in the bag for the Wall Street, that really hurt our campaign. I mean, when she said she wasn't for the TPP, and then you find out in her emails that I was absolutely for the TPP, that really hurt our campaign. When we found out that we were cheating Bernie Sanders, that hurt our campaign with the Sanders supporters. Come on. Let's be honest. This is politics. You guys paid the Russian government for all intents and purposes in order to get information on Donald Trump, in order to attack Donald Trump. Now, that's perfectly okay. We can collude with Russia in that way to get information to attack Donald Trump with the dossier. But WikiLeaks and Trump asking in public in this weird way of Donald Trump saying, yeah, hacker, and this kind of cheering on the public, that constitutes some kind of conspiracy. What is Mueller doing? Why are you doing this? Like, I guess what I'm getting at is, isn't Mueller investigating Trump collusion stuff? What the fuck is this then? What is this? What's the point of this? This is for political effect. That's all. This is for political effect. Mueller, right now, as we speak, is doing an investigation and supposedly into Trump and collusion. And he has all of these broad discretions into looking at all of these things associated with Trump. Then what is this case that the DNC is filing about? What is this case? If that's what Mueller is doing right now, then what are you doing? This is theater. This is Orwellian theater at that. Absolutely Orwellian. Oh, Primal, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Primal. I appreciate it. Let's see. I can't wait for those losers to blame me for Republicans winning again. NOC, suing DNC led to DNC to say in court that voters don't matter. Imagine that shit. Think about that. One of the things that they pulled up is, look, we can lie when we want to lie. We can do whatever we want to do. You can't challenge the fact that we can do that. I think that's what came up in the DNC lawsuits. It was amazing. They said we can choose our person in a smoke-filled room if we wanted to. Not saying that that's what we did. We're just saying that we can. That came up in the lawsuit. They're suing the DNC, they're appealing that lawsuit. Whether or not the appeal goes through or not, they're appealing the lawsuit on the DNC. I don't understand how the DNC can get away with cheating Sanders and the lawyer or the judge say, you guys don't have standing to bring this case. But these guys can somehow sue all of these other entities. I'm just amazed by this. The voters themselves don't have the right to sue the DNC, but the DNC can sue someone else on these on charges of cheating. Think about that shit. Think about that. Think how fucked up that is. Any person who's in this country should be able to sue that party if that party is cheating them in an electoral process. If that it's not true, meaning if the individual cannot sue the DNC, then the DNC shouldn't be able to sue anybody either. Like, I don't understand how this works. This makes no sense. This makes no sense. When I was talking to Jared Beck, and Jared Beck was talking about this, even he couldn't explain that point. Like, not understanding, yeah, it makes no sense. If I'm the one being defrauded, how come I can't bring the suit? How do I lose standing for bringing the suit if I'm the one that's being defrauded? It makes no sense. Their case, their argument, the judge that dismissed this case makes no sense. And you would think that the DNC also would not have standing if the human being, the person who's supporting the DNC, doesn't have standing to make their case. Which is weird. It's so bizarre. Let's see. Hello, who are you? And let's talk about the DNC for a lawsuit. What's your name?
This is Nicholas Shadursky, actually.
What's happening, Nick?
Say that. Look, not too bad, man. How are you doing this 420?
I'm doing okay. 420, that's right, 420. And it needs to be a 420. I'm glad they put this on a 420 because I'm glad they wanted to get across the whimsical nature of this fucking lawsuit. What do you think about this, man? I find this to be utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous is an understatement. In fact, if I could find another adjective to add to utterly ridiculous, I would. That's how ridiculous I think this is.
That's the name of the game, man. That's how it works. They pretty much, like you like to point out, they obfuscate at every turn, try to deflect their own faults, and just make sure that we can't gain any momentum. Because the minute they lose power, the minute we override them.
Nick, see, that's the thing. I think you can gain momentum on this, but I think you can't gain momentum if you fall in line with it. Like for example, and I don't like to pick on Young Turks, but having a media network that's supposed to be the lefty arm, that they're supposed to be, we're rebel headquarters, we're fighting for the resistance, we're fighting the good fight, we're all of these things, all of these militaristic things that are supposed to represent resistance and pushing back. And then the rebels comes out and says, look, guys, I need you to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, they're cracking down on us at every turn. Like, we can't even get a regular, we can't even gain momentum on the platforms we are allowed to have that are supposed to be free. You know?
Agree. No, I agree. I guess what I'm saying is the opportunities are there, but the opportunities are not there if people are just complicit and fall in line with the things that are being said. Like when Tim Canova is saying, I am going to run against the Democratic Party in the general. Good. Each and every one of those lefties who's running in the elections, who's boo-hooing about Democrats being unfair to them, oh, they're cheating me, they're not being fair to me, then you should run in the general. Also, if the Democrat loses, so what? I understand that a Republican may be taking office. I guess I'm making the point that lefties need to start having teeth. And the things and being complicit and all this other stuff with Democrats and the way they behave, it emboldens the Democrats to behave in the way that they behave in. If lefties start showing teeth, things change. Until then, nothing changes.
It's true, man. But unless we can actually find a platform that we can get around with them without them being able to override it, it's almost impossible, man. It's
part of the reason why I hit TYT. It's not because I hate the organization. It's not because I think they're, it's because I feel like the rebel headquarters thing, man, it cuts deep to a certain degree. Like that video of Vote Hillary was dispiriting like nobody's business. Like, it's this thing of, you understand that they cheated this guy for God knows how long. And in addition to cheating this guy, you even pointed out the fact that in many respects, they're being unfair to the way they're going to him. And then to turn around and say, look, I understand that these guys were cheated, but I need you to vote for the people who are cheating them. There are going to be a bunch of lefties who said, okay, which they should have never said okay. So you have two strikes. Your media network turns and support the persons who cheated you, and then that person loses. You do 100 loser Donald segments, and that person loses. What does it look like? What's the world look like if TYT says, we're not towing this, you guys cheated Bernie Sanders, and that's the cadence we're going to take? What does it look like when Sam Cedars of the world, when all of these other people have said, we're done? No more of this being complicit, voting Democrat shit. What does the world look like when those people stand in their power and say, we're done, and a solidarity of no? It's not necessarily that they have something else, but it's at the very least saying, we're done doing this. These guys are literally holding a lawsuit talking about we're mad that WikiLeaks Russia and Donald Trump somehow colluded in this mysterious way, that WikiLeaks revealed information showing that we ourselves were cheating Bernie Sanders. Like the indignity of that, that's amazingly shameful. I'm just blown away by it. I'm blown away by it. Like I said, I take apoplectic out the woodshed every so often, and that is the word I'm using for this.
It's batshit crazy, man. Like you said, there's no way of putting it any other way. It's just what it is. And unfortunately, like, the point I'm trying to make is, unless we can, like, unify on a platform that they can't have a hand in, we're just going to be able to, we're just subjected to just lie down, basically.
Let me ask you this. What does that platform look like? Like, what do you have when you say platform? Do you mean, like, on digital space? Do you mean... Or do you mean platform just as anything that allows a certain amount of thought and consciousness of a particular type? Is that what you mean? Like, I'm trying to get an idea in my head of what you mean by platform.
I guess that what I'm referring to more is on anything that they can't manipulate, basically. So for us, for what I can think of at this point in time is on a physical basis, where we have to, like, unify and set up our own organizations. I mean, I know there's Our Revolution and stuff like that, but it's just not enough, unfortunately. And we just need to find another means of getting the word out.
I agree. No, I do agree with you. I guess, yeah, I agree with you. I guess my feeling is that always any change, regardless of what that change is, starts at some level of no. Because there's always some system that the person is coming out of. Like, there's no such thing as a person existing in a void. Like, anytime you talk about a human being, you talk about all of these other thought forms and everything else that are around these human beings. So culture, race, etc., and political, all the stuff. Well, at some point, that there's some way of being in which that person has gotten accustomed to being. And they got accustomed to being that way for a particular reason. Now, whatever reason, however those things start to waver, in which case the person starts to teeter on, I don't particularly like this, but I'm used to this, so I'm staying with this. It needs to start with a no. Always. It doesn't matter what it is. People say, I'm done. And that's, I guess, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Whatever the platform, whether it's Our Revolutions, Justice Democrats, whether it's TYD, whatever those platforms are, from the left standpoint, from this disposition of this world and this country needs to change. And I'm not even saying radical change. I'm talking about just needs to change from the way and the disposition to which we go about our affairs, from the standpoint of corruption. Let's start there. Trust busters. Let's start there. Who's going to get on board for this thing of we need to have a less corrupt system? Well, I can get on board for that. A lot of people can get on board for that. Well, at which point do you say, okay, I'm done, and we need to start focusing on stuff like that? Now, we can get to the stuff about changing the world and everything else. But even from that standpoint, they cheated the guy. And that gets passed over like nobody's business. Like, Cenk Uygur comes out saying that if Trump fires Mueller, people need to throw their bodies in the streets. And it's like when they were cheating Sanders, you didn't say squat. Like, one was a direct attack on democracy. Like, that's literally what's taking place. They literally directly attack democracy. And they're saying that a bunch of Facebook and Twitter ads corresponds to the same thing. It's aggravating. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't.
It is, man.
So, thank you very much for the call, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course, man. Thank you so much.
And how do I pronounce your last name? Is it Shadursky? Shadowski? I know I'm pronouncing it. Shadursky, okay.
Yeah, it sounds like a little Russian, but I think it is. But
Ruski, a red.
It's just a given.
Oh, the Red Menace has invaded my space. There's going to be articles written on CNN saying the Ruskies have invaded the soapbox and all this other stuff now. Damn you, sir.
Actually, it gets a little worse than that because I'm part North Korean too. So
Oh!
I know it's pretty outrageous, but
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm a little nervous to exist in this day and age. Actually,
Oh man, that's hilarious. No, you get it on both ends, the North Koreans and
no
the
kidding,
Ruskies. Well, look at it this way:
All right,
if
man.
it was going back into slave days, my grandfather was Native American, and other people were African American. So I feel you, man. You're having that heritage where it's like, oh, this is a nefarious, this is nebulous space. That's funny. That's hilarious. And to some degree, unfortunately, it is kind of true, right? But like I saw this guy on Twitter had put on that the Russians were like rats or something, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's doing this because of all of this hysteria that's been generated up over Facebook and Twitter ads. I think it's amazing.
Go figure, man.
Amazing. Thanks, man. I appreciate your call, man.
Yeah, no problem. Keep fighting, man.
I'm trying to slug away, slowly growing, slugging away. They hit door, call them door conspiracy theories. And the reason why I like to list my sources and everything else and try to explain it, because I try to explain it from the standpoint of this is your own media. Like, I'm using your own media to kind of make my case on this stuff, meaning you're just not paying attention to it, or you don't necessarily want to look at it that way. It's slow growth, but nevertheless, I'm trying.
Even the same progressive is heading out, and it's a hard world to be a leftist at this point. Like
It
a
is.
genuine leftist, anyways.
It is. Say progressive, especially for her, because she pushes hard. Like
Yeah.
she pushes hard to the left. Like I understand. It's funny. I understand her point of view, her workable point of view, and it's one that's difficult to challenge, even though some of the results that comes up can be a little bit difficult to take in. Let's say it that way. That's a nice way to put it, and I think that way is true. Meaning, the moment that you know that your government has done certain things where they've created this kind of theater, how do you look at the current events? You know what I mean? Like, it gives you a different point of view. Like, if you just grow up living your life, you see the news, everything on the news is true, that's your world, that's your reality, the world is great, you look at the news or you get the social studies from your school, well, that's your world. Like, that's the world they're living in. Then you intrude upon that and says, look, the CIA was doing mind experiments by giving these people MK, the LSD. It's like, what? My CIA would never do that. Then you go further.
Yeah.
Hey, your government was doing psychic experiments using mystics and hippies for remote viewing stuff, and that stuff was showing results. Like, that, there's no worldview for that. Like, there's nothing in their experience to get across a worldview. Like, hey, during the FDR, during Kennedy, they were talking about bombing a thing of Cubans and Floridians to make it look as if, or give us pretext to go into Cuba. No way, our government would never do that. Yes way, it did. And there's worse. Like, you go further, but their worldview doesn't take it in. Now, same progressive takes this information in and says, if all of this stuff in the past was true that we've done, how do we know that the events that take place in our world are true? That's a workable point of view. Now, with that workable point of view, when you look at the world, that gives you a different picture of the world. Because that picture of the world says some stuff is real, some stuff is fake. How do you determine what's real, what's fake? Well, she says it. Like, she would say, I think this is fake. And she would stand by it. And it's like, oh, I cringe at that. And yet, it is what it is. Is she wrong? Fuck do I know? Maybe, maybe not. Do I err on a particular side? Yeah. But I guess my point is, this is going in the weeds. I guess my point is, because of her workable point of view, she gets hit often. She gets put in this kind of side space. I had the conversation with her, I was talking about one of her videos. And she hit me up and she said, the comments on that video are terrifying. And she was saying that because she was like, what you were saying about me was true. And it was in the video. I was right. And she said, just a flat fact, I was right. And she said, and yet what people are responding to in that video, they're calling me nuts, putting me in loony bin and everything else, and not challenging exactly what I'm saying. She was like, these people are programmed to some degree. Yeah, man, I love her, man. She's awesome. But yes, she pushes hard. And yes, it is treacherous territory for people who push hard. So.
Yeah, that's what happens, though. You push hard, they push back.
They push back. They push back, yeah.
that's that's why you got to keep your bearings straight and make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. Like, that's one thing I truly appreciate about your show, actually, is that you take the initiative to make sure you are on point, you know?
Well, I try to show where I'm getting it from. So I tried in all of my videos. I try to list all of the articles that I'm using in the videos. I even like to show the articles in the video. Like, if I get something wrong, or if, let's say, I put too much emphasis on a source, then you can see that. You can say, well, yeah, I don't necessarily trust that source. I think that trust the source is bogus, whatever else. But you see where I'm getting from and how I'm building my argument in, you know, that particular thing. So I try.
Exactly.
I try. Thanks,
it's necessary,
man.
Though.
I appreciate it. Would you say it's necessary? I got to be honest. I don't think it would matter. Like, so when they're going after Dore, it has nothing to do with what Dore says. Like they're going after Dore because it goes against their narrative. Like, in that piece, they just said he's a conspiracy theory. They put 2 sentences or 1 sentence for Dore. Dore believes he's a conspiracy theorist, such as believing the Syrian war or chemical weapons weren't used in Syria. Well, wait a minute. You don't know that chemical weapons were used in Syria. So how you call them a conspiracy theorist? It's like you're like, wait a minute. How do you know that? But their narrative of events is this happened, so anything that goes against our narrative of events is by definition conspiracy theory. Well, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. But that's what they go with. That's what.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to snuff out fallacies that whenever they come about, unfortunately.
Yeah, it goes beyond that. It's imagine for the moment you were raised in a society, and then that's, well, you don't have to imagine that, you were. But in that society, you were given, you watched Fox, CNN, and MSNBC. You don't watch Fox because Fox News is right-wing stuff, and your family was brought up as Democrats, and you, for the most part, are also a Democrat. So the information you would watch, some from CNN or some from MSNBC. And you believe that the stuff that comes on MSNBC because those are also Democrats. And they're smiling at you, and they're telling you things, and they have nice suits on, and they have smiling faces. And those conservatives saying really bad things about the poor, and some of the stuff they say are racist and everything else. Your reality in society is brought up from the standpoint of Democrats. That's your understanding. That's your world. Those are the only people you vote for. You don't pay attention to anything Republicans say. Everything Republicans say are bad. That's your world. Like, you don't, you're raised into it. You don't know any different. It's like people who are raised in a church.
Exactly.
They're raised into believing in Jesus and all this other stuff. And it takes a while for them to snap out, well, wait a minute. This doesn't really make any sense. You're living in the belly of a fish. You know, but they don't snap out of it. Like, so you have some people who are raised into it and continue to go along with it for their life. And at some point, hopefully, they snap out of it. And at some point, you snap out and you're like, well, wait a minute. How do we know they use chemical weapons? And also, is it even legal that they're doing this? Well, those questions aren't asked when you're in the bubble of that. Like, I don't want to be unfair to people and hit them on this. It's aggravating. But yeah, they're in a bubble.
Well, unfortunately, objectivity is a hard concept to grasp.
There is no such thing as objectivity.
That's true. I mean, everything is subjective.
Yeah, well, relative. I guess my point is we're floating in a void of perspectives. And there's no such thing as the perspective where you put it in the ground and that's everything is. No, everything is relative to everything else. The only thing you have is how it compares to the actual world. I can criticize your perspective if your perspective jives or doesn't jive with the actual world of events. So, did this event take place, yes or no? Yeah, your perspective is fine, but did this event take place, yes or no? Like, I guess my point is, looking at things, you can the objective point of view that CNN says they have, they're not objective at all. They're just relative perspective than anything else. Their perspective just happens to be relative to the people who are paying them for that particular perspective. When Jake Tapper, for example, reflexively gives the government position when Tulsi Gabbard says they have terrorists, we're paying terrorists. Well, you know, why is Jake Tapper reflexively going to that particular disposition? As opposed to saying, oh my God, the government is funding terrorists in Syria. That's amazing. That doesn't even sound legal. It's a perspective. Like, I guess my point is, it's not objective to anything in that point. Nothing is, there's no such thing as objectivity. What does the world look like from the standpoint? What does the world look like? And you're trying to give your perspective of what the world looks like. Did it take place? Yes or no? We can only criticize based on reality, per se. But it is way into the weeds. And I may have said something that I don't think is quite accurate. But nevertheless, thank you very much for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
For sure, man.
Have a good one, man.
Take it easy.
Shed Dursky, thank you for calling in. Red Economics, 420. Fucking A, Red Economics. I hope you're getting your 420. I hope you're getting your 420. Winkle the Burning Bro is here. As always, as I always say, we are all hypocrites and whores to one degree or another. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. Here we are. Clyde Illusion. Jamal, you should learn to interview your guests properly. It's not well formatted. You go on these long rants sometimes while your guests are like, what the fuck? That is true, by the way. Clyde Illusion, that is true. And I do recognize that I do that, so I do try to tell myself to back off, but I don't necessarily always get it right. I don't always get it right. Holy shit, why didn't I think of that before? Of course, I'm a burning bro and throw chairs. Throw chairs, just throw chairs. Yeah. Let's see. Somebody's... Xander GC. Jamal, thanks for covering the Jimmy Dore smear. CNN is garbage. CNN is garbage. I agree with you. Yep. Jank is the definition of new money. He went from pond to the Shark Tank. Is Babe in the Woos compared to the DC NYC crowd. Jink has advanced progressive voices. Indo C. So, yeah. Indo, I agree with you on this. I take hit. I've always made the case, and some people take hits to me for this, but I've always made the case that I think Jink is genuine. I've heard from people who are around Jink that that's not necessarily true. So, fair enough. I have to challenge my own opinion on that. And I don't know him, and some of these other people do. So, it is what it is. But I do think that from the standpoint of the DNC, he is to the left of the DNC. I think that's true. I don't think that's false at all. I think just as Democrats, it's to the left of the DNC. Now, the question becomes how left, if you want to make that point. That's true. But I guess I'm making the point of, yeah, I do think they're to the left of the DNC. Now, the question becomes, at least for lefty circles, if you get a bunch of money, what do you do for that cash? What do you do for that cash? And do you lean towards the direction of the cash? The only point I make here with TYT is, yes, they may be to the left of the DNC, but at the end of the day, for all of the bitching, all of the moaning, all of the crying, all of the wooing, all of the wringing of the hands, all of the beating of the chest, all of the rebel headquarters, all of that, at the end of all of that, there's a video of Cenk Uygur saying, vote Hillary. I need you to vote Hillary. Please, just vote for Hillary Clinton. I need you to. I'm in with this crowd, and I have to tell them this. We have a certain amount of leash that we can go, and we can woo-woo and everything else, but at the end of the day, I need to get those people back into the Democratic Party, so please, I'm Cenk Uygur, vote Hillary Clinton. Please. Please. Now, I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying that you should. Yeah, okay. Okay. Ideology is not Cenk's primary interest. He wants to win. Gardner, agreed. I do agree with that. Trini B. Fan, yes. Bring WikiLeaks to court with Clinton and Podesta emails. That would be epic. Trina be fine. That's kind of my other point. That's what I'm saying. This is somewhat interesting. And I'm skeptical on whether or not they're going to actually let this go into court. What happens when they start trying to pull information from the DNC saying we need to see this, this, and this? We need to see all of these things. You brought us to court? Fine. We want to get into the evidence. What happens at that point? Like I don't know enough about law. This is one of those things that maybe I need to see if Becks are available to come onto the show. And Clyde Illusion, I will try to do a better job of interviewing Beck. So I'm sorry. I think you're talking about. I don't think you're talking about Beck. I think you're talking about Jordan. So that's fine. That's fine. Discovery. Yeah, Tim Floberg. Right. Discovery. That's what I'm getting at. What happens when Discovery phase takes on? Wink at the Burning Bro. I'm learning a lesson in making videos too long because I was first on YouTube with the CNN Jimmy Dore smear last night. Oh, seriously? You saw it? Yo, I have to check your video out. Yeah. The lawsuit can help bury neoliberalism and Clinton. So Thompson. That's why I'm fascinated by this. Like, how are you going to cover your flank on a lawsuit like this? If you're coming up with information like this, don't you have to allow a certain amount of investigation or discovery into your own affairs? I mean, I'm fascinated by this lawsuit and whether or not they're going to be able to pull this off. So, get Elizabeth back on. She's beyond hilarious and loves the troll. Gardner, yeah, I love Elizabeth Beck. She's awesome. That woman is awesome. That woman is absolutely awesome. Okay, I don't know what that one is. Trina be fine on the upside. Maybe this will save us from President Pence. Oh, I ask this question again. What is the Mueller investigation doing? Like, I thought the Mueller investigation, the point of the Mueller investigation was to look for collusion between Trump and Russia. What are they doing? The only reason, like, this is theater. This is theater. Paging Bernie Sanders. Paging Bernie Sanders. What does Bernie Sanders have to say about being cheated? When we go to Burn Bro, your video already has twice the views of mine. Was yours demonetized as well? Which one? This? I don't know if this one is demonetized yet. I would say all of my other videos were demonetized. Every video that I think I did today was demonetized. So, yes. Now, they may come back later and say, okay, yeah, this is okay. But that's like it's 1,000 views. They don't even look at it until it gets to 1,000 views. You have a lot of networks that don't get 1,000 views. Like that's my issue with this. It's like, it says, okay, when it gets to 1,000 views, we'll look at it. Or there's a copyright strike. We're going to take 3 months to relive your live stream. What do you mean 3 months? How do you even know that it was a copyright strike? Like, how you know that strike was actually supposed to be that way? And then they retract the strike. Our bad. But what about the revenue that you lost over those few days? Like, it annoys me that this is this kind of totalitarian system in the way they go about their affairs. And now they're attacking Jimmy Dore, which means it may put more emphasis on them to demonetize videos at a higher rate than what they were before. We'll take a look at it with human eyes after 1,000. That's 1,000 views. Like, to give you some example, about 80%, I'm estimating here, but about 80 or 90% of the videos that are demonetized by me, when I file a thing against it, are returned to normalization. But now, for that 1,000 though, they were nothing. Or the very least, YouTube Red. And it's like, you guys have gut the revenue for all of these videos, the majority of which you come back saying were perfectly okay. Meaning, it's not that the videos were bad, it's that your system and monitoring is somewhat fucked up. It aggravates me. It's like, yes, thank you for saying that this video was okay. I think I had 2 videos in the emails recently that I saw that said, okay, 2 of these videos we don't like, the other 5 are perfectly okay. But I get those videos like every other day, or emails. This is okay, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay. It's few and far between when I get a video that doesn't, that gets, like with a human review, gets turned down. But again, that's 1,000 views before it gets to that point. It's just aggravating. So aggravating. I know it's timing and the subs and a lot else. Just gonna learn to keep videos shorter in general. Yeah. I like to do that though when I'm bringing people on. I like when I'm like, for example, this video, for all intents and purposes, I'm talking to my audience. Because I'm talking to my audience, I accept that the video is going to be longer. There are other videos where I try to keep shorter. So, Red Economics, they demonetized my channel a few weeks ago and just not remonetized it. George Pagog, post-constitutional America, election rigging, CIA buying off mainstream news, illegal wars, 25% of the DNC delegates connected to the intelligence agencies, bribery and politics. Let's blame WikiLeaks and Russia. George Pagog agreed. Who is this? Jamal, what do you think about the UN stating that Russia blockers an independent investigation into Syria? Blocks an investigation. I saw that. So if Syria is going to come out and say, we want the OPCW to come and check whether or not chemical weapons were used, then you can't turn around and block those investigators. That looks profoundly bad. In the same way that it looks bad that the United States and the UK and France attacked immediately, like the day that the investigators were going to go and actually investigate, it looks just as bad and weird that these guys are blocking the investigation. I agree. 20. It looks bad. It looks bad. It looks weird. I'll say that much. So, but I have to be honest. Both look weird. Like I always make this point that this is a propaganda war. I have no idea which one is which. So Russia is saying it never took place. Then Russia comes out and says we have irrefutable evidence that nothing took place. And then beyond saying they have irrefutable evidence nothing took place, they go in further and say we found chemicals that the terrorist probably was using. Now, Syria comes out and says, look, we want you guys to come and do a chemical check. Because the school that was bombed had been checked by the OPCW and found to be cleared. That's what the United States bombed. Mathis comes out and says, we're still looking for chemical weapons. So you attacked somewhere that you didn't even have evidence of chemical weapons. That the only thing that you were using was social media. That looks bad in and of itself. So Syria screams, we want them to come and check. Then they get there and Syria and Russia says, okay, wait. We can't allow you to go in and check this yet. We know we asked you to come here, but we can't allow you to check this yet. That looks weird. That looks really bizarre. And it looks also bad when the United States is bombing just before the OPCW is supposed to go in and check. Both look bad. Both look weird. I have no idea. My main case in this wasn't necessarily that it never took place. My main case on this was we don't know whether it took place. It's just open-mindedness. I don't trust the West's story on this. Do I immediately, reflexively trust Russia's story on it? No, I don't. No, I don't. What I do want is for them to have the inspectors go in. And I do want independent investigation. But I suspect that that's what the majority of the public wants. An honest, independent actor going in and saying, this is what the truth of the matter is. So, 2 at 20, it looks bad. That's what I think. But looks bad, I don't know what that means when I say looks bad. I just know that it is antithetical to what I think people would do if they were being earnest in the process. Let's say it that way. Like an honest actor, if you really, really wanted them to do an investigation, just have at it. Take a look. Take a look. So, agree, Jamal, there's a propaganda war. Yeah, I think it's a propaganda war. At this point, if Assad drops chemical weapons, he would get the benefit of the doubt because he's the same false flag every time. Chuck E. Cheese, that's another interesting thing, right? Like I don't know why he would do it, though. It would be putting a thumb in the eye of everybody else. Because one or two things is going to take place. They would know that there would be an OPCW check. They would know that they would bring these guys over there to investigate whether or not chemical weapons were used. So I don't necessarily see the benefit of doing it. He may get the benefit of the doubt from saying whether or not it took place initially, but the moment that OPCW goes in and checks, if they find that it took place, you're going to have a large share of those people who are on the fence about it say, okay, this is what they say, this is more likely and not true. I don't know. It looks weird. Maybe. So you are a UN rep. I am not a UN rep. Xander GC, why would Assad attack his own people? No one can answer that question other than Assad is a bad guy. Xander, yeah, that's the other point, the logical argument. It's like, what would be the benefit? He's already cleared out like 90%. You have terrorists right now in southern Syria who are surrendering. What does he get out of it? What does he get? It makes no sense. Assad is a bad guy. I understand he's a bad guy, but what does it make sense from the standpoint of a geopolitical standpoint? He knows that the West is looking for a reason to take him out. What will be his reasoning? He's a bad guy. Okay, he's a bad guy. We get it. Assad is a bad guy. Let's see. Who's calling? Hello, what's your name?
Hey, this is Ty Henry, a.k.a. Sports Droppings on Twitter. I'm one of your patients, Jamal.
Oh, what's going on, man? How's it going, man?
I'm doing well, sir. One thing you want to consider for this lawsuit is how does this impact the input or the entry of the Seth Rich investigation? Because the Trump folks and whoever are the defendants' name are going to want that information, and therefore all this mom stuff with the FBI and the Washington police, that goes out the window. I'm sure the Democrats will try to suppress that, but that stuff's going to come in. So it's a very treacherous road that these folks are going to go down.
That is fascinating. That is fascinating. I didn't even think about the Seth Rich stuff. That is fascinating. Because, Donald Trump has brought on, Geneva onto the camp. And I don't know if you know. Yeah, that guy. I don't know if you know that guy. Well, clearly you know his name. But he's clearly not on board with this Trump and Russia stuff. And he's been, like a former prosecutor. He's been heavy on this thing of this is bogus, this is nonsense, this is a plot to take down a president. So I am curious about how this is going to pan out. This is fascinating to me.
But you're absolutely right about discovery. I'm not a lawyer. My mom is a paralegal, so my degree is in constitutional law as a bachelor's degree. But if you know some lawyers that you might want to have them come on and talk about this, that might be your next step to add some additional content to your show. So.
Well, I'm going to see if Jared Beck is going to be willing to come on. Because, Jared Beck is the one who filed the previous lawsuit. He himself is a lawyer. In fact, Tim Canova is a lawyer. I can even see if Tim Canova will come on and talk about it. He's a constitutional professor. So that would be a damn good conversation.
Or you know who else?
Go ahead.
It's the guy who's on Twitter a lot. He was George Sheridan's lawyer for the sexual assault lawsuit, who went up against Kurt. He also went up against Kurt Eichenwald and won. Bill Moran.
Ah, okay.
Bill Moran wins is his Twitter handle. He's a great follow. You might want to. But he's also a lawyer, so I'm sure he'd be glad to come on your show. Possibly.
I'd totally check him out. I would totally check him out. There's somebody else who's also into this. I can't think of his name. The name went out of my head the moment that we start talking about the law thing.
Maybe Popat?
Who? Say that one more time.
Popat. His Twitter handle is Popat, but he's been on. His name is Ken White. He's a former federal prosecutor. He's been on Intercepted, but he had his Twitter handle is Popat, and he does a lot of political stuff.
And you call it Pope? Are you saying Pope or Hope?
Pope, as in the Pope of the Vatican. Pope
okay.
hat.
Pope hat.
And so his avatar is the Pope's headdress.
Pope hat. I'll check them out. I check both of them out. But this is fascinating to me, man. This is so weird.
I'm not a smoker, but happy 420 to you, Jamal, and all your friends.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. The reason why I was saying it's like blaze one if you got one, because I know a lot of Sanders supporters were going to look at this and be really pissed off. They're going to be pissed off. The indignity of you filing a lawsuit like this after you cheated the other person in the primary. But it's funny that this happened on 420, and I'm glad this happened on 420 to get across the ridiculousness of it. It's almost like a cosmic laugh at what's taking place in regards to this lawsuit. So, thanks, man. I appreciate you calling in. Oh, I think he's already gone. Oh, he's already gone. Fair enough. I think I'm going to do that. I think that's going to be my next step. I'm going to get a lawyer to come onto the show and explain what is taking place with this lawsuit and whether or not discovery will come into effect. Because I have to be honest, if discovery comes into effect, oh my God, that's going to be awesome. Hello, who's calling?
Howdy ho there, Jamal. It's Winkle.
What's happening, Winkle? How's it going, man?
It's good. I just wanted to call in real quick. I'm at work right now, but I'm having a dilemma. I don't know whether to go and see Super Troopers 2 afterward or wait until later tonight and see your debate with H.A. Goodman first. I don't know what to do.
I don't know, man. That's going to be a toughie. It depends whether or not... Yeah, man, I don't know. That's a toughie, man. That's a toughie. I'm a biased actor in this.
What should come first? Because I could do both today.
I'm a biased actor in this. So anything that I tell you is going to be a bias. But I would say that debate is going to be awesome. That's what I think. I think HA has been tooting this Trump thing, and HA is going to have to, make and be honest, it has nothing to do with whether or not Trump, what he's done or anything else. It has everything to do with whether or not he can get elected by going the way that he's going. And I have a hard time believing that under this model that Trump has taken, that he can do so. I'm trying to be better. Debate. I was told that I talk too much in my interviews. So I'm trying to do a better conversation with my audience or with the person who's talking. And I know by virtue of me saying that I am now still talking too much. So go ahead, Winkle. I'm going to let you respond to that. Because I want to intrude too much. Oh, by the way, for those who don't know, Winkle has his own show.
That would be fun.
Oh, by the way, just so people will know, Winkle has his own show. He has his own show, awesome show. Please check him out, Winkle the Bernie Bro. But go for it, Winkle.
I gotta go. Just wanted to push that real quick.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too, man. Siler comes and escaping hard for HA during the debate. First Scorpion 8 tweet. Siler will come here caping hard for HA during the debate. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Joshua Renshaw. I'm not the biggest HA fan, but it's got to be better than listening to Jay Scott call in and beat off his underground lair. That's funny. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, it should be good. It should be good. HA's a good guy. Yeah, that should be good. And the only reason this came about was because I saw a tweet from HA saying that Trump is going to easily win in 2020. And I was like, I could believe that Trump will win easily in 2020 if Donald Trump went a particular tact. Like if he said, I'm taking the troops out of Syria, I'm doing jobs, etc., etc., etc. Yes. With all of his failings and everything else, I believe he still probably can pull enough to win. Not the way he's going now. Not the way he's going now. I think he has a hard time doing it. So we will see. We will see. Bob Romero, so what Jamal doesn't seem to realize is that while most voters think that the Syria mess is a disaster, it's also something out of their control and thus irrelevant. Now, Bob, it's not that. It has nothing to do with most voters. It has to do with Trump voters. That's what you're missing. Meaning Donald Trump promised certain very specific things to his voters. And I am making the point that those voters are demoralized at the behavior Donald Trump has taken. And that people like Alex Jones flipping out. Alex Jones may be an actor, but he's an actor and an avatar of the will of a lot of people who wanted Trump to do well. That's what I'm getting at. When he's saying, can anybody be pure? He's saying that because Donald Trump is going into that fucking country. And there are a lot of Trump voters who hate this. They don't like this. They don't like this. I'm thinking that those people are demoralized. That's what I think. And I think those people being demoralized may not necessarily show up for Donald Trump in the way that they would have shown up for him before. Because at this point, he is not a newcomer. He's not an out there. He's not an outsider per se. He's a functioning part of the establishment, just like Hillary Clinton was a functioning part of the establishment. And he has done their bidding in the same way that Hillary Clinton is the establishment. So, yes, she's doing somebody's bidding, but for all intents and purposes, some of that is her bidding also. He's not a newcomer. That's my point. He's not an outsider. He's not like Obama coming on Hope and Change and people think he's something different. They realize that the moment he gets in office and he surrounds himself with the likes of John Bolton, that he is the same thing. He's not getting rid of the sharks. He is one of the sharks. So that's my point. That's what I'm getting at. All right, so I'm going to end this. This has been an hour. You get my feeling on this particular topic, and I suspect that a lot of you may feel the exact same way. Apoplectic is a word, like I said, I don't use all that often. I pull it out the woodshed when it's necessary. This is one of those times when it's necessary. This is Orwellian. The Democratic Party suing Trump, Russia, and Wikileaks is Orwellian. So I'm going to leave it at that. J. Scott, Jamal, H.A. is going to strawman you into a Hillary talk debate. No, he's not. He's not. He's going to lose this argument. I think he's going to lose this argument, personally. I love H.A. to death, but I think he's going to lose this argument. And mind you, argument is putting it too strong because 2020 is like 2 years off. So there's no way to know. The only thing we can say is in 2 years, somebody's going to come on their show if those shows still exist. And even if the shows don't exist, they're probably still going to put a video up on YouTube having the conversation that we're having, showing one of us losing a debate because either Trump wins or Trump loses. So it's just good fun. That's all it is. But it should be fun, man. It should be a lot of fun. And I appreciate AJ coming on the show because he got 100,000 subscribers. So I totally appreciate him coming on the show and even paying attention to the fact that I threw it out there. I'm going to end this here. All right, guys. Let me make sure I haven't missed anyone. Steve Citron. Oh, thank you, Steve. I'm sorry. I didn't see this early on. Steve, thank you very much. Steve Citron, TuneIt20, Redneckonomics, Giving the 420, and Primal. Guys, thank you very much. You guys, I appreciate it all. You guys help the show keep ticking along. I'm trying to help it grow, so anything helps it grow. So I'm going to end it here. You're probably going to see me after lunch. I need to take the dogs out and a few other duties. So if you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. And of course, you guys can always support through Patreon. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys probably in an hour or so.